Good morning and welcome to the Vashon Island Unitarian Universalists. It's still a little bit of a mouthful for me, I got to admit. My name is Beth White, and I will be your service leader for today. Our community is supported by our minister, Victoria Poling, and strengthened and enriched by the volunteer contributions of our members and friends. Thank you, Spencer Prophet, for providing our tech support. We're honored to have the music of Kat Eggleston. We thank each person on the third Sunday team for putting things together here. Each of us is lifted up by your contributions. Human connection and relationships are really very, very important parts of our community. We invite you to stay for conversation and a few treats at the end of the service. For those of you who are new here today, you are welcome. As we settle in, we're finding our balance between being and doing and listening, sharing and singing. Let's find our voice by repeating after me. And for those of you who are on Zoom, please unmute. It is good. It is good to be. It is good to be here with you. Okay, Zoomers, please mute. Important values that we hold close are openness to all, individual freedom of belief, diversity, and social justice. We seek to promote a sense of community meant to enrich your spirit. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your beliefs, whomever you love, know that you are welcome here. This island paradise had long been used by the Squabash tribes for gathering berries, foods, medicinal plants, for hunting, fishing, and ceremonial potlatch gatherings. I love the idea of imagining potlatch gatherings here. Just put it in your mind. So wonderful. But in 1854, as a result of the Treaty of Shaynamnam, Medicine Creek, the Squabash were forcibly removed from the island, and their land was taken. Tribes lost their rightful connection to their place that their Creator had entrusted to them, and they were relocated, sound familiar, onto neighboring reservations, including the Puyallup, Nisqually, Squaxin Island, and the Muckleshoot. We recognize that this land acknowledgement is one small step toward true allyship with Native people, and especially the Puyallup tribe. We seek to move beyond this acknowledgement to true reparations and await the day when we will actively participate in them. We commit to uplifting the voices, experiences, and histories of the indigenous people of this land.
My name is Sylvia. As we gather together for worship this morning, being both near and far, we light our chalice, as we do each week. It is a symbol of our faith. May its light be a beacon of hope for the many, those who feel lost, those who feel threat, those who feel tired, those who are uncertain. May our beacon of hope help you find home, help you feel safe, give you respite, and honor your searching mind and spirit.
The UU Mystery and Wonder team has worked to create the service today on hope. Feeling discouraged with the January weather or perhaps the political climate? We're here to offer insights, stories, and a little hope. It is our intention to invite a deeper look into the meaning of hope and how we can collectively foster and nurture hope in our lives now and in the future. Amy will start.
Thank you, Beth. You may all know that I've been a yoga teacher and meditation leader for many years. Yet I haven't shared why I chose this career and meditation path. What does this have to do with hope anyway? Reflecting upon Beth's writing, because we share writings as this group to develop these services, I too felt little hope between 1993 and 1997. But it was personal, not political. I had moved to Vashon with Alan for his career and desire to return to the Pacific Northwest. But he was gone. He traveled for work. I'd left family and very close friends, and I'd sold my business in Chicago. So without a job and taking care of a young child all by myself, I felt alone, isolated, and obsessed with worry. A massage therapist noticed the tightness in my body. "Have you tried yoga?" No. I'd been an athlete. There was no yoga in Central Illinois in the 1950s or 60s. So I started taking classes here in 1998 with a classic Iyengar teacher strictly focused on body alignment. I began asking questions, so she just recommended take a yoga certification. I hesitated, worried that that might not be the right path. I didn't particularly enjoy her classes. They seemed very rigid and demanding. But as Sylvia found, cultivating hope involves choosing a pathway. I needed something to lift me out of feeling hopeless and to give me purpose. Still unsure if I'd even become a yoga teacher, I enrolled in a yoga teacher training at the Yoga Tree in Fremont. I learned anatomy, philosophy, and alignment for hundreds of different yoga asanas or poses from Joe Leffingwell, who was a classic Iyengar teacher at the Yoga Tree. But what hooked me on yoga teaching was really assisting in her class. Joe had a student, David, who had physical limitations. He was young, mid-20s, but already stooped and always leaning to the right. One of his legs was shorter than the other. But over 6 months, I experienced the miracle of his practice under Joe's careful attention to alignment. Her other gift was humor. She made us laugh every single class, and that felt light and hopeful. David's spine lengthened and untwisted. David's hips realigned. He walked taller and straighter. She laughed, he beamed, and I was hooked. I thought, if I can give that gift to others, I'm in. I was filled with hopefulness. I taught for Student Link, and the students made up the poses. For the YMCA, in cramped quarters. For students upstairs at the Blue Heron, and I continued to experience that transformation I'd seen in David. A decade after my first certification, I enrolled in my second yoga teacher training at Seattle Yoga Arts. I did this partly because my daughter left for college, that empty nest issue, but also because I loved the classes that I took at Seattle Yoga Arts. These classes were very different than those rigid and demanding ones that I'd taken here on Vashon. I felt challenged, connected with other enthusiastic students, and filled with hope that I could learn to be like those yoga teachers. From Denise Benitez, I learned how to sequence a class so that it flowed with warm-ups, easier poses focused on areas needed for challenges later, and how to cool down. We practiced, student to student, on one another, and what a difference my sequencing made to the stiff male who could balance on one leg and still twist his neck and shoulders to the left. He gave a high five to his neighbor for this unbelievable achievement, and my heart soared. Denise also emphasized why and how to tie an inspirational theme to each class. As a teacher, my job is to inspire versus deflate or defeat my students. So for the balance or twist pose, the theme could be rooting into Mother Earth. It could be stability or grounding. As Sylvia reflected, hope also involves taking action towards a goal. These trainings gave me the tools, including sequencing and creating a theme, so that I could take the action to trust myself to teach, like those teachers that I admired at Seattle Yoga Arts. That's really one of Beth's themes, too. We look to inspirational leaders for hope. I found mine in those yoga teachers, a clear pathway forward. In 2020, with the uncertainty of COVID, I joined a morning meditation group. My friend Margaret recommended it because she felt my proclivity for worry arising again. For 3 years, I got out of bed in the morning to join this group because it provided a whole container for my day, a relief from the isolation that we all felt, and a hopeful, different viewpoint from projecting a fear-filled future. Once I could teach in person again at Vashon Athletic Club in fall 2022, I began to use the meditation themes in my yoga classes. Every Friday, we practice compassion. This theme, deeply embedded in Buddhism and other spiritual practices, really fits into yoga because the acceptance component of compassion breeds hope. In my 60s, I'm even more hopeful that I can continue these practices all my life. I never have to retire. Maybe I'll keep teaching yoga and meditation until I'm 104, like Burl. Let's practice, and let's see how you feel, or you experience how acceptance provides a framework for hopefulness. So, put your feet on the ground. Feel your sit bones in your chair. Lengthen your spine tall and close your eyes. Bring your hands to your heart center if that feels comfortable to you. And collectively, together, let's take 3 deep, slow, wide breaths in and out, beginning now. Repeat within yourself these words. I accept myself as I am. I wish that my heart is free of all pain and suffering. I wish that I live a long, healthy life and feel it, experience that in your heart. And we're going to repeat that. I accept myself exactly as I am. I wish that my heart is free of all pain and suffering. I wish that I will live a long, healthy life. And again, feel that and how that compassion widens your heart. And with this open-heartedness, we now take that compassion and send it into the world. So imagine someone in front of you, an enemy, a friend, a family member, even a pet. See that person or animal fully in your mind's eye. And from your heart, say these words inside yourself to that person or pet. I accept you exactly as you are. I wish your heart is free of all pain and suffering. I wish that you lead a long, healthy life. One more time. I accept you exactly as you are. I wish that your heart is free of all pain and suffering. And I wish that you lead a long, healthy life. This is a practice to do every day if it serves you. And see if you feel or experience how this acceptance for yourself and the world provides the framework for hopefulness. Let's collectively take another deep, slow, wide breath in and out. Then release your hands when you feel ready and open your eyes again.
Thank you, Amy. It's a beautiful transition to joys and concerns. So we will stop our recording. Love. Oh, shoot. Sorry.
If there are more surprises, just let me know.
Okay. There's another one after offertory.
Hold on a minute. I'm almost there. It's always. No, I'm sorry.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. We give thanks after the offertory.
My name is Donna, and I'm the second one of us talking about hope. And my printer printed this out really, really small. So, oh, that would be great. Yeah. Getting older is really something. All kinds of adaptations. Thanks. Hope is an important word in this time marked by war, humanitarian crises, political and religious division, racism. How do we stay motivated to find purpose in our lives? How do we find hope? We need to begin with the understanding that we can hold both hope and hopelessness at the same time. We have to work at moving forward, but finding a bit of hope can give us that gentle push we need to keep moving through tough times. It's important to recognize our need to release emotions that are weighing on us. And a good way to start is to look at our immediate lives. See if we can take some small steps that will help us feel that we are making a difference. Tamar Chansky calls these actions pivot activities. They're actions that help us pivot to hope. Actions that we can take close to home. Actions that affirm our values and our moral framework. Pivot activities can help counter despair about issues that are on a scale that we cannot affect, like a distant war. They're activities that are more immediate to our lives, grounded in our community or our region. Activities on this scale can actually create hope. The bit of hope may be humble, but it's a forward thrust in our lives and in ourselves. I feel despair about many global issues, the continuing war on Gaza, the war in Ukraine, the famine in so many countries, and continuing wounds of racism. Part of my despair comes from my inability to affect these situations, aside from bearing witness and making donations to organizations that are present to the crises. But I also try to affirm my values, my humanity. And in volunteer work, I do that here at home. The responsibilities that I take on in an effort to bring positive change on a scale that I can personally affect. We can build hope by joining the helpers in our community, the organizations and individuals stepping forward, taking action to help others. Our community is rich in helpers, and volunteering even a few hours a week with a helping organization can ignite hope. For the past 4 years, I've been growing hope from tutoring a young girl, Gulner, whose Syrian family moved to the island several years ago. My relationship with her and her family has grown, and I know we have great affection for each other, an important connection for all of us. I also know that I have helped Gulner become a proficient reader. This affirms that I can make a difference, make a positive change in people's lives. It also affirms my belief in the innate goodness of humanity. It cultivates my hope. I've also learned that I need to find a balance between the negativity I am exposed to each day and those things that inspire me. In order to find this balance, I work to recognize when I know enough about something, when I don't need to carry the burden of more details. So one way I have done this is how I approach articles in the New York Times. I read this paper every morning, but I very consciously don't read articles about certain topics or ones that may provide an overdose of detail on an issue I have been following. It's a way for me to protect myself from an overload of concern over something that violates deeply my sense of morality, of humanity. I'm seeking a balance between knowing enough to stir my compassion and recognizing the despair that I feel, unable to affect a distant situation. Hope is based on the moral code by which I try to live my life, with compassion for the greater worldwide community. The pivot activities I commit to in my community help bring alive my humanness and my values. I've realized over the past many months of Martin's decline and passing that I don't use the word hope here at home. I use intention instead. This is because intention to me implies action, and it is on this more local level, even with my husband, that I can take action. It is acting on my intentions that ignites hope at the larger scale. And somehow hope nurtures hope. Hope is part of my connecting to something bigger than myself. No act of hope is too small. So let's support each other in hope. My hope helps your hope, yours, mine. Let's keep it multiplying. Thank you.
As members and friends of the Vashon Unitarian Universalists, we commit to supporting our congregation. Financial resources help us to pay speakers and staff and maintain our building lease. Our congregation engages beyond our walls for peace, social and economic justice, freedom of belief, and protection of the planet and its inhabitants. Once a month, we contribute the financial offering to a community organization that aligns with our values. Today, we are contributing our offering to our beloved VIUU community. I invite our greeters to come up and pass around the offering basket, and hopefully Kat will play We Give Thanks.
Back at you.
We give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for the time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. We give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for the time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
Hi there. So yet another take on hope. When our team picks a topic, I usually look up the definition of the word to clarify my thinking. Because we all have feelings, memories, prejudices, preconceived notions, and misunderstandings around words, even the most common ones, especially the ones that are kind of ambiguous. I found that my feelings around the word hope were sort of tinged with a little skepticism. Okay. To me, hope was a fluffy word found in Hallmark get-well cards. And so I thought, and what's the difference between wishing and hoping, right? Well, I wish, you know. Hoping is actually doing something. Or optimism and hopefulness. Well, optimism is thinking, oh, everything's going to be all right. And hopefulness is more like, I'm going to make things be all right. The glass is half empty and it's half full. So my search for the clarity about the meaning of the word hope led me to a site about hope therapy and hope theory, and it was developed by a psychologist and hope researcher, Charles Snyder. Snyder's definition of hope is a positive cognitive state based on a sense of successful goal-directed determination and planning to meet these goals. So I know this is a dry academic definition of hope, but it really shifted my perspective from that Hallmark fluffy word to something different. Some approaches emphasize hope as a state of being, but Snyder looks at hope in the context of doing. It is the capacity to achieve goals. He says hope has 3 parts: identifying the goal, planning pathways to reach that goal, and the motivation to make it happen. So while hope certainly involves our emotions, hope itself is not really an emotion. Hope is actually a way of thinking. This means that hope is not something that just happens to us. Hope is the belief that our future will be better than today and that you're able to make it happen. We can construct hope in our lives, and that it's a learned skill. So as our team talked more, which we do a lot, I was struck by Beth's observation that the opposites of hope, hopelessness, despair, helplessness, can seem more powerful than hope. Despair results in paralysis. It makes you feel stuck. Despair builds on despair. But hope can be an antidote to helplessness. And hope builds on hope. So last summer, I experienced how hope can overcome despair. After years of trying, my daughter Chelsea and her husband were so excited when they found out they were pregnant. And the baby's due date was Halloween. On July 14th, I got a desperate call from Chelsea. Her water broke 3.5 months early, and she was being airlifted to San Francisco to try to save the baby. So I felt really, really sad and afraid for the baby and my daughter. So baby Luca was actually born at 25 weeks, and he barely weighed 1.5 pounds. This is really at the edge of viability for premature babies. So Chelsea and Luca were in the hospital neonatal intensive care unit for 4 months. And they were cared for by an incredible team of doctors and nurses that really held out hope for them. It was guarded, realistic, and heartfelt. Meanwhile, I was 800 miles away, feeling pretty helpless. And I realized this different perspective on hope as doing, and that we can construct hope, it sort of kicked in. This is in retrospect, really. When it looked like baby Luca would be finally going home, Chelsea was worried about his room not being ready for him because she had to leave and was gone for 4 months, right? And they live in a very small place with 7 cats and 2 dogs. And Luca's room was really the cat's room. And it had all the litter boxes in it. So Chelsea had this plan that she wanted to move all the cat paraphernalia out of there into a cabinet that she wanted to build that would have like a cat door to the outside. Over the years, my friend Trish and I have worked together. We've designed, built, remodeled, wired, plumbed. She calls us the Project Girls. So our version of hope manifested as the goal of building this cat poop cabinet, as we called it, and somehow getting it down to Northern California and installing it in their house. And as a mom, I was really motivated. So those were the three things of hope, right? The goal, the pathway, and the motivation. So Trish built the cabinet in her shop. I disassembled it, loaded it in and on top of my car, and drove to Fortuna to install it. So now, again, upon reflection, I can see that this was an act of hopefulness for this new little family. And what I've learned is that when we start to lose hope, we really need to remember we're not alone. We can reach out for help from a friend or family, a therapist, a community. And we can hold hope for one another. We can build up a sense of hope for someone else. I also learned from this hope theory that there's a bigger kind of hope that can be an antidote to the hopelessness that I feel when I see wars and hate and suffering and pain in the world. It is a collective hope that collaborative action can lead to a better future for us all. Hope creates relational trust. So, that collective hope is what will get me through these difficult times. My goal is to reach out to voters and remind them of the issues. My pathway is going to get postcards from Beth and send them out in the world with a bunch of other people. And number 3, looking at the political perils of 2024 election, I am truly motivated. So that's hope.
Back in November, our group explored possible themes for the coming month's services and unanimously chose Hope for January. There was little debate that the topic of hope felt right. Maybe it was about January and the depths of darkness and cold and gray that we anticipate and know so well. Whatever the reason, hope felt collectively like a patch of blue sky in the midst of long, dark, and wet days. Is hope a feeling? A state of mind? A belief? I think it is a transitional state of mind and feeling. Transitional between despair, discouragement, and something better. Possibly good. It is like a slow-moving up escalator, taking us out of the darkness and into the light. It is a bridge between different states of mind. It implies change, opportunity, possibility, dare I say, hopefulness. At a global political level, I acknowledge my despair and possible hopelessness about the threat of our democracy, with Trump as the likely Republican presidential candidate. I am profoundly discouraged by the number of Americans who believe his rhetoric and intend to vote for him. No question, I feel little hope these days. I am worried and scared. Yet in spite of my discouragement, I am choosing to step into action. I will organize you youth to write postcards. I will knock on doors to encourage people to vote. I will not sit still in my malcontent and complain about the state of affairs with my like-minded liberal friends. It is an odd combination of feeling unsettled in my lack of hope for our country, yet being willing to step into possibility. There lies the magic. I believe that my engagement with others to effect change allows for hopefulness. Collectively, there is a greater possibility that we can set down our despair and take action to impact others. You've been hearing that from each of our team today. We dare not be passive in these difficult times. It is up to each of us to find our own personal agency and join others to muster, create, and spread hope. My education and career as a social worker were all wrapped around hope. Hope for people, communities, and organizations to change. That is the ultimate mission of social work. As a clinical social worker and psychotherapist, my work was all about my belief in personal change. I was an agent of hope with each of my clients who came to me depressed, discouraged, and stuck. Their choice to do their work was wrapped in their own desire for something different, something better in their lives. Each person crossed the threshold of my office, hope tenderly following along, having already had the profound courage to reach out to make an appointment. They sat with me, slowly sharing their stories, their grief, their shame, and their depression, laid bare for me to witness and hold with care. I can promise you that the threads of hope were deeply necessary for each of my clients to trust me with their stories and their suffering as they embarked on courageous personal work wrapped in their own hope for change. A word about privilege. As a white woman born in Seattle to a family of means, I know that my access to hope is easier than it is for many on this planet. I received a good education, was fed well, and did not suffer the traumas of disease, war, violence, racial and cultural discrimination. Too many people suffer from these traumas, making hopefulness very hard to reach. When survivors of abuse or addiction, malnutrition, inadequate health care, or racism find hope in their lives, I am deeply moved. To lift oneself up from the depths of trauma with hope, well, you get it. I bow down in respect and admiration. I think about inspirational leaders of our times who are literally the messengers of hope. Nelson Mandela, who after decades in prison emerged filled with hope and leadership for people of color in South Africa. Martin Luther King, whose sermons remain standards of hope for people of color in our country. Obama, Our first black president, whose message, "Yes, we can," stood as the epitome of hope for Americans. Indeed, I do believe that inspirational leaders are almost universally harbingers of hope. Here we are in 2024, an election year, together as a community of UUs. It is time for us to muster. It is time for yours truly, the community organizer from Social Work School, to step up with you in hopefulness. We each need to find ways to become engaged in whatever activity leads us to a more hopeful future. You choose. But know that collectively, as we've all spoken today, we can support each other. Collectively, there can be a greater ease in effecting change. Collectively, we can create opportunities for something new, a better world, a peaceful way of being. Will you join me in engaging as agents of change and possibility? We can do it together. Let's hold a moment of contemplation and worship, an old English word that means to consider things of worth, in a generous and abundant silence. The silence will end with a musical response from Kat.
When the deer's bedded down and the bear is gone to ground and the northern goose has wandered off to warmer bay and sound, it's so easy in the cold to feel the darkness of the year, and the heart is growing lonely for the morning. Now October's growing thin and November's coming home. You'll be thinking of the season and the sad things that you see. You would hear the old wind walking, hear him singing high and thin. You could swear he's out there singing of your sorrow. Oh, my Joni, don't you know that the stars are swinging slow and the seas are rolling easy as they did so long ago? If I had a thing to give you, I would tell you one more time that the world is always turning toward the morning. When the darkness falls around you and the north wind comes to blow and you hear him call your name out as he walks the brittle snow, that old wind don't mean you're trouble. He don't care or even know. He's just walking down the darkness toward the morning. Oh, my Joni, don't you know that the stars are swinging slow and the seas are rolling easy as they did so long ago? If I had a thing to give you, I would tell you one more time cold November, they can't take the wind and snow. They put their glories all behind them. They bow their heads and let it go, but you know they'll be there shining in the morning. Now, my Joni, don't you know that the days are rolling slow and the winter's walking easy as he did so long ago? And if the wind should come and ask you, why is my Joni weeping so? Won't you tell him that you're weeping for the morning? Oh, my Joni, don't you know that the stars are swinging slow? The seas are rolling easy as they did so long ago. If I had a thing to give you, I would tell you one more time that the world is always turning toward the morning. If I had a thing to give you, I would tell you one more time that the world is always turning toward the morning.
May our faith sustain us, our hope inspire us, and our love surround us as we go our separate ways, knowing that we will gather again in this beloved community. Amen.
This concludes our service. Now is the time for announcements. Does anyone have an